Good day. Lots to talk about today, folks. As always, we are talking about personal finance topics. I thought with the book came out July 1st. It took a while because it was on pre-order. I felt like forever. July 1st of How the Rich Gets Richer. The Amazon's #1 bestseller. Super excited about it. Finally launched, and I thought, hey, let's go over every single chapter in the book, not reading it to you, that's what the audiobook is for, but going over some highlights and some big picture topics. And today we are talking about chapter 9, almost the end of this series, of talking about how rich people know the rules before they break them. Yeah, I said it. Now, this isn't a book about how to cheat the system. It's more of a hack, if you will. It's not about how you could do tax evasion. No. We're talking about tax planning, tax avoidance strategy, legal things, happy retirement, not in jail retirement. You get what I'm saying? So this is discussing the key aspects of financial planning and, quite frankly, what a lot of people don't do. Heck, our industry doesn't do it. It actually rolls right off the tongue. They say, please consult with a tax advisor. You ever hear that? So they do not give tax advice. And I get it. It's difficult. It's hard to do. Well, here at Falcon Wealth Planning, that's what we do. So I thought, hey, that's one of our biggest niches at the firm. Let's talk about that in the book. And man, oh man, was that difficult to do. I mean, oh my goodness, that was hard. The reason it was hard is you're talking about complex tax situations. With that being said, and even with the new tax laws that are coming up potentially, that is something that is still relevant. So to make something evergreen that relates to everybody, you first have to educate people on how taxes work before you can start giving the recommendation. Yet again, that is hard to do. And so I wanted to go over of how, when you talk about how rich people know how to break the rules, they have to know the rules before they break them, that goes for you too. So the book talks about knowing the rules. And one of the biggest attributes to this is tax planning. So this chapter, it's a fancy way of discussing know the rules before you break them, but it is discussing specifically tax planning. And so that's what it is. And yet again, because the industry doesn't give it enough attention, because it's so difficult to understand not only your current situation, but your future situation through tax projections and knowing what you should be doing, this is one of the biggest missed elements of all of personal finance. People don't do it. They talk investments, they talk return. But understanding the core importance of what your success should look like. Think about it. Rich people have tax problems. Well, when I built the firm 10 years ago, I thought, let's focus on that. It helped that I had a tax background, but the idea was simple, is help people save thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars in taxes. They could become a client for life. So now, because this book is going into, obviously, thousands of people's hands, the idea is, can it help everybody? And the understanding of this book is it can. And so what I wanted to do is, obviously, to avoid taxes legally, right? There's no way around paying the tax. So understanding core concepts such as Roth conversion, you hear that all the time. We get people every single day coming into Falcon Wealth Planning asking if they should be doing a Roth conversion. But first you have to understand the situation. What, you got $1 million in an IRA? You really think you're going to convert the whole thing? Let's say you live in California. You convert $1 million, you're probably going to have what? $480,000 after tax? Like, let's be real here. But this is what people often don't talk about. They don't go into the details and the nitty-gritty of how tax planning works because it's difficult. Heck, Vanguard a few years back was giving every single client the recommendation to convert 100% of their Roth IRA. Like, oh my God, that's like malpractice. I really feel there should be a class action lawsuit there. If there's any attorneys listening to this, it's okay, just give me a little cut. I can help tell you why, as an expert witness, that's stupidity. But this is the world we live in. Everybody wants to say they do financial planning. Everybody that says they want to do tax planning. And when you start looking at knowing the rules, understanding that maybe you're in a low bracket now, maybe you're in a high bracket now, and understand the difference between getting a tax deferral, getting a tax benefit today, versus ignoring that or paying the taxes later. So it's actually knowing the rules before you break them. You're not breaking any rules. You're just smart enough to know when to pay the tax and when to defer. Think about it. Let's say you win the lottery. Well, that's pretty great extreme. You're in the highest tax bracket possible. Now, imagine if you could defer as much money that year. You go from showing $100 million of income to the next year showing no income, because I'm going to assume you're going to quit your job. So don't you think it's smart to save as much money in taxes on the year you win the lottery, and then the year, obviously you're not going to win the lottery every year, the low tax years, the following tax years, to start realizing some taxable events because your income is now zero. And hell, the government gives you a free $30,000 standard deduction. I can argue your write-offs, your net taxable income is negative $30,000. So maybe you should realize some taxation at that point. This is where it's crazy to me that financial advisors do not even look at your tax returns. It's insane. It's preposterous. Because how are you supposed to actually know? Give financial advice when you haven't even looked at the biggest piece of your financial documentation. By the way, folks, if you're just joining me, you're listening to Gabriel Shahin, Certified Financial Planner, and your host of More Knowledge, More Wealth here on every weekend. And we are talking about all personal topics of personal finance. And today we are talking about the book of How the Rich Get Richer. We're talking about chapter 9, going through a series of every single chapter and talking about the highlights of those chapters and discussing on chapter 9 how rich people got to know the rules before they break the rules. And the idea here is not to teach people how to do any type of crazy illegal activity. It's to understand how the tax system works. And when you understand what tax bracket you're in, you don't have to ask anybody anymore if you should be contributing to a Roth versus a traditional IRA. Or if you have money in a taxable brokerage account, the type of investments that you should be having in those taxable brokerage accounts. Because I see it far too often where people are invested in mutual funds in those accounts or taxable bonds in those accounts. And depending on their tax situation, they go into municipal bonds or sometimes not into municipal bonds. Some people think you always have to go into something like that. Some people don't sell something because they're worried about the capital gains, but they do not realize their tax situation. They can sell their long-term capital gains and potentially, depending on their tax situation, be tax-free for them. It's just crazy to me how people are managing your money. And they don't even know how to answer that question because they're not allowed to give tax advice. But this is the world that we live in. And it's not a knock on them. It's the world that they live in. But if you have a situation that is complex, that needs more time, that needs more attention, that needs to be customized, guys, that's why we offer the free financial assessment. This is why we're offering 1 to 2 meetings, 1 to 2 hours of our time at no cost. And it doesn't matter where you're located. We can help. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird. Or visit our website at falconwealthplanning.com. That's falconwp.com for short. I see it all far too often. And this is what I try to reiterate time and time again on why it's important to have a comprehensive financial planner look at your situation. And by the way, and we're talking true tax advice. Just the little snippet I gave a minute ago is proof of that. But people can call themselves a financial planner without even being licensed or just selling insurance. The industry does not regulate what people are being called. Hell, there are people out there that say they're senior vice presidents and executive presidents, and they're just a financial advisor just like everybody else. They literally have no difference of a position, but they just give themselves some fancy title. And they say they have teams of all these professionals and everybody out there that is going to help you with your complex situation. Don't you want to take advantage of these fancy accountants that are normally charge $1,000 an hour to meet with, or these fancy estate planners? It doesn't work that way. Because if they're not diving deep into your situation, giving actionable recommendations for you, what is it all for? Makes no sense. So this is a key attribute of financial planning and tax planning. If you can find a way to look at your situation, whether it is adjusting your corporate structure, adjusting your pay, adjusting the way you buy things for the business, these are attributes and savings, actual dollars that can save you thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. And the book likes to go over that. It likes to cover those items. It talks to you about big picture, what is crucial, and then you can relate it to your situation. And that's the goal, isn't it? To see if you can actually save money. And guess what? Most people do. And the beauty and the feedback that we've gotten has been fantastic. And I thank everybody who's pre-ordered the book and ordered the book, because it's been great. Because they're able to get those fantastic recommendations, to get those fantastic ideas of how to look at the world of tax. And that's what our industry has been missing. And you have spoken, you've said you wanted this, you said you wanted a playbook, and that's what this is, your ultimate guide to building wealth. And this chapter, going over and how the rich get richer, of rich people know the rules before they break them, is crucial in tax planning. This is one of the biggest differentiators here at Falcon Wealth Planning. It's one of the biggest differentiators that you can have in a wealth manager, is understanding how to save you money. It's not just it's funny. What's the best way to make money? How about you just save more? And there's ways to do that. And when you save more, sometimes you feel the pain, right? Not going out to eat. I feel that. Not getting that Starbucks in the morning. That doesn't feel too good. You get what I'm saying? Not going on that trip or that night out with friends. These are things that hurt. But tax planning doesn't hurt. It's about being savvy. It's about knowing the tax law. Not to break them, but to maximize the tax savings. This is easy, low-hanging fruit to save you money. This is what's cool. This is what's great. And this is what people are just not aware of. So this is the recommendation for you guys, is to understand your situation and meet with a partner, talk with a partner that can help maximize your situation by understanding you. This whole idea and chapter and what this talks about are the tax brackets. That is who you are. So the government, unfortunately, you have a name, you have a personality, and you have a residence. But we all have, might as well have these barcodes on our forearms that they scan, these 9-digit barcodes. And those 9 digits are our social security number. Sure enough, that's what the IRS has to track you, to charge you, and to hold you accountable. Now, in this case of charging, they're saying you owe this much money for taxes. Now, if you're able to give them the same amount of information, but to create with the laws that we all know about, to create ways to save you more money, who the hell wouldn't want to do that? And that's the thing. Sometimes it's just changes. Sometimes it's just, like I mentioned earlier, restructuring your corporation, restructuring how you get paid. Sometimes it costs money to do so. It might cost $1,000 to set it up, an extra $1,000 to do the taxes on that entity. But if it's saving you $10,000, wouldn't you rather pay $2,000 to save you $10,000? That's an extra $8,000, almost $700 more a month. I call that a no-brainer. And this is something that some people sometimes just fall into the inertia of lazy. But when you want to talk about smart money, when you want to talk about how the rich get richer, they're always proactive. They know the solution they have today is not the solution that can be done for life. They know to always have new goals, always proactively check on what you have going on to make sure you have the best situation possible. Something as simple as an insurance policy that you may have on your house, auto, to get those checked up on an annual basis. Now, those in certain states, like California, probably going to be difficult to get a better pricing because a lot of these home places or these insurance carriers are leaving because of regulatory issues with home insurance. But big picture is always looking to take a look, yet again, at your situation on how it can save money. And this is what I see people missing all far too often, and it starts with tax planning. Some people do it on home and auto insurance, but very little people do it on taxes because it is difficult and because it is sensitive. By the way, folks, if you're just joining me, you're listening to Gabriel Shahin, Certified Financial Planner, and your host of More Knowledge, More Wealth, here on every weekend, and we're talking about all important topics of personal finance. Today, we're talking about the book, How the Rich Get Richer, Chapter 9, and discussing how rich people have to know the rules before they break the rules. And I get it. It's difficult to talk to another accountant, especially if you're not going to hire them or to pay somebody for their advice. But if you are getting true advice, then that is worth every penny. And this is why we offer a free financial assessment, where we give you 1 to 2 meetings, 1 to 2 hours of our time at no cost. I heavily recommend to take advantage of that. There's no reason not to, because the one thing that your accountant, if you're meeting with them 1, 2, 5 times a year, whatever the case may be, they're most likely a tax preparer. You're meeting with them for what? Of what you did last year, or to clean up books. But tax planning is completely different. It's understanding your full financial situation and making changes, recommendations, contributions, tax saving strategies. I'm not telling you to go buy a big SUV over 6,000 pounds for a Section 179 deduction, which, oh, by the way, I discuss in the book, it's talking about true planning strategies, not spending money. If you don't need that big SUV, right, and that costs $100,000, depending on the state you live in, you are still out, let's just say $50,000. So yeah, it saved you $50,000 in taxes, but did you really need that $50,000 net of taxes vehicle? No, so you're still out. So actual items, actionable items of saving you in taxes is crucial. And yet again, our industry doesn't do it. So these are the core concepts of the book, is how it can save you time, how it can save you money, and how it can help in your financial situation. And these are things that you should also share with other people. But yet again, you got to know how it works before you can take advantage of the tax laws. It's like here at Falcon Wealth Planning, for people who've worked with us, they've seen that we presented almost an educational study of how taxes work before we ever go into recommendations, before we ever go over your taxes. We actually talk to you of how taxes work first. That way you can actually appreciate the recommendations. You can appreciate how it can save you money over time. And when you compound that out, not just that 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, throughout your lifetime, it saves you a substantial amount of money. So the question is, why are people not doing this? There are people out there. And the thing is that they're not advertising because they're swamped. They are busy. These are high in demand people. And this is why here at Falcon Wealth, we are blessed. We have over 2,500 inbound calls and prospects a month that come to our company. We help tens of thousands of new people on an annual basis. And it's a blessing. And I feel great about it. And that is why we came out with the book. We came out with the books because sometimes we just can't help everybody. We have a staff of almost 100 people, but it's not a staff of 1,000 people. And it's everybody needs a financial plan, but sometimes not everybody can afford a financial planner. So there are key concepts that I wanted to cover because hopefully they can afford a $30 book and they're able to get some of the answers to the questions that they have. And most people, it's funny, are coming in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And what they need is just a guide, a recalibration of where they are for a guide to put them on a better path. Because you put them on a straight path versus in, what do they call it, detour, that could be substantial savings. In that example, time, but as we all know, in money. Folks, that was a fast show. I want to thank you for tuning in with us this weekend. You can always reach out to myself or any one of our colleagues here at Falcon Wealth Planning. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird. Or visit our website at falconwealthplanning.com. That's falconwp.com for short, where you can go and visit our Knowledge Center, which redirects you to YouTube. We have over 1 million views, folks. And if you want us to discuss anything on YouTube, on the show, whatever, send your inquiry to radio@falconwp.com. That's radio@falconwp.com. And if you want this episode, any one of our previous episodes, you can go on podcast, Spotify. We have them all there. And folks, we want to thank you for your trust. We want you to feel free and feel comfortable to reach out with any questions that you have. I want you to have a fantastic weekend. Have a great week, and God bless.